Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Saturday morning D&D show. I am Jordan with a silent PH in the middle, and I'm joined always by my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucian, over at Sir Lucian Gaming. Good morning, sir. Say hello.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. I hope your day is going wonderful. It's gonna be a little rainy here. So
yeah, it's been rainy the past couple days. Did I tell you we had an earthquake?
No.
It's the end times, Lucian. Wow. First of all, for those of you who don't know, don't stalk me or anything, but I live in Idaho. And Idaho doesn't get earthquakes. But there was a 6.5 earthquake.
That's big.
Yeah. About, I want to say, well, I don't actually know how far, but it was north of us quite a ways. And we felt the aftershocks of it. Wow. So I'm sitting there feeding my baby. And my wife comes and she's like, well, I want to talk to you about something. I'm like, we're talking. We're like, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, whatever things husbands and wife talk about. And then all of a sudden it starts shaking. And I'm like, is that a plane? And she's like, I think. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this an earthquake? And I look out the window and the whole thing's, I've never been in an earthquake before. Mm-hmm. So this was crazy. But yeah, because of the pandemic and that. And there was like a swarm of locusts somewhere recently, and we're worried about the firstborn son because that's the next one. So yeah, it's crazy. So wow. there's some Jordan news for you. It was really spooky. And then I got online and streamed my Rod of 7 Parts game 30 minutes later. So, you know, but no damage or anything, and everybody's fine. So, yeah.
Yeah, if we're going to hell, we're playing D&D while we go. So that's just how it's going to work.
Exactly. Really exciting to have you guys here, both on the YouTubes and the Twitches. You guys can always catch us live Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific on YouTube. Just search for the Saturday Morning D&D Show. Or on Twitch, which is over at twitch.tv/Sir Lucian Gaming. It's a lot of fun. So we're really, really excited to have everybody here. We're going to talk about, this is a very hostful episode. We're going to have just me and Lucian today. And we're going to talk about some Dungeons & Dragons news. Last week we had Mike from Unmade Gaming here. He's really awesome, but we didn't get to talk a lot about the news more in depth like we usually do.
Sure.
So I wanted to bring up the Unearthed Arcana again. And this was the pet spells, basically. And the design of this is different from any other pet spell that we've had in the past. Because usually it's the HP is kind of the level of the guy plus a certain amount or something like that, and the on the good quote unquote pet spells, or abilities I should say, like the ranger, the updated ranger, and their attack is always plus your proficiency, so it will go up, but it's not necessarily tied to a stat or anything. So your pet is just kind of like, this is as strong as it'll get, etc. With these new spells, they're like a certain number, like 8, plus proficiency, plus like a stat, and divided by a level. Like they have like a mathematical formula for everything. HP, stats, attack bonuses, things like that. Is this the new future of pet classes or pet spells for D&D, to make them more viable? And do you think they're going to go back and fix, and I say fix, but are they going to apply this if it works really well to other pet abilities or pet classes and stuff?
Yeah, and I feel like when I was reading it, it was like depending on what type of creature you were summoning or calling forth, like if it was aquatic or if it was land-based or if it was a bird-based or air-based or something, that some other things were changing too. So that was an interesting thing. It feels to me like if you're ever going to have a setting that is pet summoning specific or heavy, if you're going to do a Pokemon version, a Yu-Gi-Oh, or you're going to do anything that just has a lot of that stuff in it. It's the main kind of portion of the game. D&D doesn't have a way to tackle that style of a world in its current state. You can try to finagle some stuff. You can expect your DM to maybe make some new rules up, which is always a possibility. But if they want to be able to support, like they want to be able to do a world that can do that kind of thing, we need something like this or close to this. Like this is like, maybe it's gone too far one way and maybe not enough the other, or maybe they still need to fine tune it. But it does feel like if you had these rules in place in the player's handbook, you could do a pet heavy summoning setting very well. Like there'd be, and it would be viable. Like you said, like I could be 10th level and it would make sense that my 10th level cool pet would come out and it would be relevant to a 10th level adventure versus when it was relevant at the 3rd level, or it's relevant at the 15th level, or whatever it might be. I'm excited because I'm a huge summoning pet person. I've wanted a summoning class for a long time, but this is a way to do it differently if you're going to go the spell route, because then you could take any of the spellcasters, you can leave your classes alone, and you don't have to make a specific summoning class to do this. So
yeah, and I think that's what they're trying to get away from. Same thing with psionics. They want to wrap psionics into wizards as a flavor, like rather than trying to build a whole new class. Like I really get that sensation. They're like, we tried psionic like points and things like that, but it just, I don't know, balance wise, it's going to work better if they don't make a new class and they just utilize that the existing system they have. Case in point, the Artificer. They could have gone a completely different route with how he casts spells, because they cast spells because of magic items and things like that. But they gave them spell slots and basically said, you need to reflavor your spell slots to, if you cast Shocking Grasp, it's because you have a lightning hand on. A glove that casts lightning or something like that.
Right.
But I wanted to go back and clarify what I said earlier about these summoning things. Is it looks like the armor is 11 plus the level of the spell. So you can upcast these to get a better beast. And then hit points is the beast constitution plus your spellcasting ability modifier plus the spell's level. So again, hit points vary with spell level and how like intelligence and things like that. And then they made one pet that is essentially 3. If I can summon this as a land pet, an air, or a water, and depending on how I do it, or the celestial spirit, I can summon it as an avenger or a defender, and depending on how I summon it, it gets different abilities. So it's I don't know, it's smart and it's concise, a little Magic the Gathering-y to me, because every time you summon this, you're going to have to go through and count. And I mean, you'll have like a template to like, if I cast it at this, I know that it's this. But it's interesting. I don't know. I wonder how D&D Beyond is going to handle this.
Right. And I was just saying, because if they can handle it with a really quick, you just click a button.
That would be good.
Then people are really good. I think everybody really likes these electronic devices that are helping us do the math portion. So we can just play the game and we can think about what we want to do on our turn versus trying to add everything up and divide it by this or all that stuff. So very interesting.
We've been using D&D Beyond a lot, and not sponsored, but if you want to sponsor us, hey, we're right here.
We would love to be
been using D&D Beyond more and more with my games, and I have my little Google Chrome tablet, and I love it. I sit down at the table and I've got this thing, and I not only do I have that, but I'm a faster typer than I am just handwriting stuff. And so when it comes to taking notes, I can open a Google Doc in the next tab and write down our inventory or the notes or something of what happened on the previous session. And that is also coming into play as I DM Rod of 7 Parts. So it's really awesome.
It's funny you say that, because this week was the week that Lucian broke down and spent more money on Dungeons and Dragons and subscribed to D&D. I've been staying free D&D Beyond this whole time, using my 6 character slots and deleting ones I'm not using and adding other ones in I could use. And I was finally just bit the bullet. I'm like, what's one more charge? I'm already paying for Roll20 and I'm paying for Zoom so I can play, and I'm buying the books.
Apparently there's a plug-in for Roll20 and D&D Beyond.
That's why I got it too.
Okay.
Because I played around with that the minute I signed up for it, and I thought, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Chrome has a extension that you can roll right from the sheet. So you can have your sheet up on one screen and you can have Roll20 up on the other screen, and you can click things on your D&D Beyond sheet and it will roll in Roll20.
That's what I need.
It'll bring up stuff in Roll20.
Do I have to have a Roll20 subscription for that to work?
I don't think so. I think it's just a browser extension. And
I know what I'm doing exactly after this show. Okay.
Yeah. Play around with it. I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. So what it does is, I don't know if people can see. Well, no, I won't mess with it because I barely got things running this morning.
Yeah, that's true.
But Zoom it puts up a little icon. Yeah, it puts up a little icon at the top of your Chrome window that says it's linked to Beyond 20. I think the only key is your character sheet in. I don't know if it even has to be filled out, but I think it has to have the name that matches the name in D&D Beyond, and then it knows to make the link that way somehow. Okay. But other than that, I don't know how much else. I just barely started playing around with it, but it's super cool. So now, of course, I had to buy that, and now, so I got the first tier. I didn't go crazy yet.
I'm still at the first tier as well, but mostly because I keep getting invited into games where people have unlocked everything, and so it's like, well, like technically, I can't start a game with
all that stuff.
I can't start it with all of this, but like I can make a character with all of that because I have access to it, and so I can kind of play around with it. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So very cool.
Let's talk about spirits, specifically healing spirits.
I heard Healing Spirit has been fixed finally,
and you are very familiar with this, and I think this is something that you would be. You would say that this is better, right? Like,
oh my God, my players abused the hell out of it. It just did not make any sense in the context of how the game was running. Just mass healing, people running through the healing spirit so it would trigger on them and it just turned the combat into this really weird set of them trying to find a way to either run themselves through, or then they wanted to drag their people through, or if somebody was unconscious, they wanted to throw them on it was everything revolved around this healing spirit, and it just got to the point that it was just too much for me. So we definitely had already kind of limited what it could do, and then I just saw a Twitter post out there that they said they did go ahead, they're going to fix it in the errata. I don't know if the errata is out yet, but it is on its way, or it's being printed up, or it's about to be done. And they're going to fix it so that it links into your spell casting bonus modifiers, how many times that thing can kick off, which makes sense because most things like this have a limiting factor on them in some way.
So when I cast it, it can heal, like if I have a +3 to my wisdom, it can heal 3 times and then it fades away.
I think it can trigger 3 times. Yeah. So and 3 different people can trigger it. And
I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Because it is just, it is. It was way overpowered. We used it a little bit in one of my games, my homebrew game that I was playing in, and I don't know. It's a welcome change. So we'll see.
If your players are just use it occasionally, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it comes up. But my players are strategic enough that they're not only doing that, they then started doing synergy with the druid's totem of the unicorn, which meant if you heal somebody, everybody gets bonus healed based on you healing. And so then the healing spirits healing people, and they were wanting that to trigger off the unicorn. It was just like a whole mess that we went through. So
crazy.
So I'm glad it's changed. I'll be interested to see the new errata. I don't know what else they'll put in that errata, but they're obviously
so they're going to release, Wizards of the Coast is going to release and they've done this for the player's handbook and for other things, but specifically for Xanathar's Guide to Everything, they're going to release a errata PDF, and then you will know specific sections and what was changed and how the wording is just clearer and better, and if they needed to nerf something, they nerfed it. So
so very cool.
So
there was a lore you should know that got out, but I think it was a pre-recorded one, or it got re-released, because in the start of it said it was recorded back in the day, and it was the Blood Feud,
and that seems like it was something that should have come out for Descent into Avernus. So I wonder if it's because people are staying at home they're like,
Right.
well, we'll just kind of reuse some older content to keep the YouTubes going. So
We'll just tell them about hell because
Yeah.
they're staying home for a plague, and so that's out there if you haven't seen it yet. I didn't watch through it, but I am interested. The Blood Feud itself
Mhm.
is a very interesting, cool thing that you could add to a campaign with the war between two evils. Really,
Yeah.
that concept, and I love the idea of war between two evils. I used it in my campaign for Seeking Revenor. We touched on a little bit of the blood feud of a demon who was trapped by a devil. The demon's finding a way to get out, but this devil doesn't want him to get out because he wants him to stay trapped. So he uses the players to keep the demon trapped. So it's one evil pitting the players against another evil, and the players are trying to figure out, well, is there a lesser evil in this?
Yeah.
And there's probably not, but they're going to pick one to help or not.
Yeah,
So
that's fun,
what
though.
are they going to do? So that was really fun to do. So definitely check that out. I watched last night 2 episodes of Tales from the Loop last night. Have you
Ooh.
watched this on Amazon
And
yet?
so that is that you just said Amazon. So that's the Amazon show that's based off of not necessarily the role-playing game, but the same art that the role-playing game was based on.
He did a book too, which I
Yeah.
think are stories tied to his art.
Okay.
But it's very.
Is
I
it,
won't
I mean,
spoil
so you like
anything.
it? It's good.
I like it. Think of it as vignettes. So each episode is kind of an enclosed vignette. My
Mhm.
wife said as she was watching one of them, she's like, "Is this kind of like a Twilight Zone kind of thing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We'll have to keep seeing and watching." So I
Yeah.
won't spoil it for much. It so far has still been from the perspective of either I would say like a 10 or an 11-year-old, or there was a teenager one so far, the 2 that I've seen. So far, just like the role-playing game, which is more kids on adventures specific, which is what the role-playing game is built for. The show has thus done that. And the show's connected, and it's all about the loop. If you find all that stuff out, and the artwork is in there, and the way they filmed it is very
in the 80s
interesting.
that never was.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, I don't want to spoil. I think
Don't
everybody should
spoil.
go watch it. I like it.
Spoil-free show.
It's probably more Stranger Things than it is Goonies. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In the way that Goonies is fun, Disney humor, this was not. This was definitely a more serious kind of take on what's going on. So it was interesting. But I've only seen 2. I think there are 8 total episodes. I will probably binge watch them the rest of today because I'm so interested in it. I love the artwork. I love what they've done with it so far. Some good acting in it. So it's been pretty fun and very interesting. Also a little, do you ever watch the show Black Mirror? I think is the name of it.
No, I haven't. I think you're the 8th person to tell me to watch it.
To tell you, and I'll be the 8th you've ignored thus far at this point.
And so it's we have a list of TV at this point because it's like whenever we get a chance to sit down and actually watch something together, the wife and I, and things shift around and stuff like that. And finally, we had so many people yelling at us to watch Tiger King that we bumped that up to the top, and we kind of wish we hadn't, because when we finished it, we're like, oh, these poor, like, it's really sad. They're just really cruel to the animals.
It's a train wreck.
And it's a train wreck to watch.
Watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not, you should, there's people are making fun of that show. I'm getting on a soapbox right now, but like people are making fun of that show. But I think a lot of people that are making fun of the outlandish characters that are on the show, it's a documentary, so they're real people, are kind of missing the point that at the very end they talk like, the animals aren't winning, and I was like, you're right, and it's kind of sad. So we're finished with that. I think Tales from the Loop is going to be next though.
We can move on. All right, good. So I liked it. Definitely was cool out there. It makes gets that urge to play the game some more.
Yeah. I'm waiting for you to run a game.
Yeah, my wife, it was really funny because when it popped up, she was looking at it and it comes up on the screen. It says Tales from the Loop as the big, and she looks at that and she goes, why does that look familiar? I'm like, oh, let me show you. And I run in my room and I come back out and I show her the book. She's like, oh yeah, I see that book on your shelf all the time. I'm like, yes, it's right there all the time.
That's funny.
That was very cool. So
well, speaking of books on shelves.
Books on shelves.
And speaking of spending a bunch of money, I bought Dungeon Crawl Classics Lankmar, which
How
is
that?
so this was like a used copy that I found because I think it's like $65, which was a little too expensive for me where I don't know anything about Lankmar, but I got it used for significantly cheaper. And that's the cardboard, but it comes with a lot of adventures and books and resources to play Dungeon Crawl Classics in the world of Lankmar. And do you know anything about Lankmar?
It sounds familiar to me. It's what I remember. I get it mixed up with Tolis all the time.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
You know, the big city, but it's the DCC version. I thought of that, or but go ahead and tell me. I always get it mixed
No,
up. So
yeah, and I'm not sorry, not trying to call you out. Like, do you know? Like, but I didn't know, so I researched it a bunch, and I researched it a bunch, and I'm reading this. A friend of mine, Lex Mandrake, who is on my Rod of Seven Parts game, he's like, no, you should totally check out some of these. They have like audiobooks on YouTube that you can listen. But Fritz Leiber is an author, and he's been writing this fantasy world from 1933 to 1988 was, I think, the last published thing. It has an AD&D campaign setting tied to it because it was one of the books that really inspired the original Dungeons and Dragons or book series. And it's this like science fiction fantasy hybrids. The word or the genre sword and sorcery comes from Frank Leiber's books. Fafrid and the Grey Mouser is like the characters, and they go on these adventures and stuff. So I don't know a lot about it. The cool thing about this is the Goodman Games, they put, here's all of the Grey Mouser books. And here's the ones, like if you want a D&D or if you want a D&D, if you want to DM/judge a game for Dungeon Crawl Classics using this, here are the like key books you should probably read in short stories so you know the world a little bit better. And I'm gonna get a couple of them. They're all out there. A lot of them, some of them might be public domain at this point. See if I can find and maybe I'll read up on a little bit. I don't know if I'll actually run this, but it was cool to get another city that I could then incorporate into other areas and things like that. But so sorry to explain a little bit better. Lankmar is a large city in this world that Fritz created, and it has corruption and people and NPCs and all this other stuff. And DCC made some specific rules for this Lankmar setting that are unique to that setting. So I thought that was really cool too. And yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of fun to try out new things. So maybe I can get a Lankmar game
like
going.
an urban setting for DCC, because a lot of times I feel like DCC games have been, you're out in wastelands and you're out in, you know, in all kinds of areas, but they're desolate or war torn or something bad has happened. This could be a nice, cool urban version of that. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Does it add new rules, or is it just setting stuff? Or
no, it does. It has some new rules in it. The first couple are like how to get into Lankmar, and then the rest of the book is like the city of Lankmar, and then chapter 4 and the rest are optional rules to use in your DCC Lankmar game. So things that kind of make it more. I haven't read through all of it yet, so I don't want to say, but not necessarily less deadly, because DCC is a very deadly game, but it's also a game that's really good for one-shots, and I think this is them stepping out saying, you know, we can play one-shots and that's fun, but like if you really want to do an ongoing campaign, we can do that too. Like the core system allows you to play more than just whatever. And this kind of ties back to Jack Vance. They're going to do the same thing that they did with this Lankmar in 2021. DCC is going to do This Dying Earth. So they're really excited to get a hold of these properties because they were the properties that inspired original D&D and also inspired Dungeon Crawl Classics. Like he made Dungeon Crawl Classics because of reading back through a lot of those books. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah, just little things.
I'm waiting for my Tolis book, which would be a big one. Which would be another big city. The Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica is another good one. If you want a big city, you could use the Ravnica book for sure. I've always actually wanted to use that big guild fighting guild, sector fighting sector
Mhm.
kind of thing in a big urban city, or play like a game like Blades in the Dark kind of game.
Yeah.
Has lots of cool stuff in that too.
That's another
That'd be
setting or
super
another
fun.
game, Blades in the Dark, that comes with this like Victorian setting of blah 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 blah. A city, like a large kind of magical / industrial city. So yeah.
Very cool.
And then we'll touch on this briefly because it was in tabletop news.
Sure.
But the topic
and it's
of
GM related,
and it is, yes, but it's the topic of safety in games and making sure that everybody is in a comfortable, I don't necessarily want to say safe space, but like you're not pressuring other players to role play something that they're uncomfortable with and things like that. And so for those of you who don't know, Adam Koebel, who previously we liked a lot, he does a lot of cool stuff. He wrote Dungeon World and things like that. He's kind of a big name in the tabletop role-playing universe because of how much he streams and how much, and like the inclusivity that he brings. Like he always tries to do these really cool shows with a bunch of different people from all walks of life, and they do shows together. You can Google this if you want, but long story short, he made a female cast member very uncomfortable to the point where she felt like she needed to leave the show. And she did. And she spoke out about it. And she was very straightforward and polite and was like, these are the reasons that I'm leaving the show. And this is why I don't think this is appropriate, and blah, 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 blah. The show has thus been canceled. And Adam has apologized on numerous platforms. Not necessarily explaining himself of like, why did I do this? But that he acknowledges what he did was wrong. And I think what we basically, it's all over Twitter. We don't need to get into the details of it because I don't really want to. But it made it my Rod of Seven Parts game. We were talking about it, and they were just like, well, do we have stuff set up like that? Like, do we have ways of stopping this? And coincidentally, we did. And I reminded them all, I was like, no, when we started the game, I really like the the system I read about was in Kids on Bikes, but I don't think it's pertinent to Kids on Bikes. And maybe if I can find some more information on it, I will put it in the show notes below. So look for that. But basically, if you're ever in a situation role-playing with your characters, you should set up before the game starts, I don't want to talk about like, I love my son. I don't want to talk about babies dying. And you're okay. And so that's kind of off-limit topics. And then while you're playing, there is the VCR method, which is pause, rewind, fast forward, or stop kind of a thing. And so if you're ever in a situation where it's like, I don't feel comfortable with what Lucian is doing and taking this scene, you can say pause. We all pause. What's going on? I don't feel comfortable about this. It's like, okay, your options are fast forward, where we say it happened, but we won't talk about it, or rewind and we go back and we make a new choice that's more comfortable for everybody. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And I think regardless that this is kind of like a bad thing that happened, it's really put a good light on that DMs and players have a responsibility to each other to be honest and be open and just be like, this is not cool. So it's hopefully more games will start with social contracts and stuff is my hope. But
yeah. And just recognizing, I think I was watching the show, and I don't recommend that you go out and find it. And the only reason I say that is because I think it just adds to Elspeth being a victim of what happened, because now there's a bunch of people who had no idea what Far Verona was at all, but they're just going to go and they're going to watch that and they're going to give their opinion on this thing that they didn't know about. But now I'm going to go watch this. It's like, hey, I was in a car accident and it's on video, and then you rush out to go watch this car accident on video. You're perpetuating the problem. You're as much of the problem as that's the whole thing that happened. But I was watching it, and I have been watching the show, and I like the show. And it was like, I'm sitting there watching it and thinking, wait, something's going wrong. And they were like, something's going wrong. Tools can fail also.
Yeah.
Like people, I think they were just in this moment of shock. They're like, no, this can't be happening.
Yeah.
So no big deal. You know, they're like, no, this can't be happening. It's not happening. And it just, what I took away from it and what I wanted to bring to our show to say as a dungeon master, a game master running a game, absolutely pay attention to the reactions of your players, because they're giving you hints, even if their brain is not engaging with, hey, Jordan, the way you're taking this story is not the way I want to go. Even if they can't formulate the words, their expressions or their posture or the way they're reacting to your descriptions and the way you're saying things is telling you stuff also.
Yeah. Read
so
the room.
Don't get so wrapped up in this cool thing that you're describing that you miss what's happening with them. And I've used it in a couple of games with mine, because a lot of times I'm a big dog lover. So if any of my dungeon masters end up they want to use dogs attack the party, I'm just like, eh. Or I say to them, all right, I make it very clear that I'm just going to try to scare them away.
Yeah.
And you're going to make that work. Because the only way out of this is not, we need to kill the dogs, or we need to, I don't want anything to do with that. And just like you're saying, you have a new baby, there is no one, the only option is the baby dies option. That doesn't happen. The only option is
it just in danger,
survives, or even any of that.
Even in danger. Yeah. Like if someone says, hey, I've got a really great idea where you have to stop an evil cult from trying to sacrifice a baby, I'm like, I wouldn't want to play in that.
It's not interesting to me. So that kind of thing. But if it starts to happen and your brain just can't even comprehend it, I'm only saying, and I'm not saying that we won't make mistakes. I also think, from Adam's perspective, any of us can still make mistakes, and we probably will. And we'll probably take a scene too far, not realizing what we did, not realizing how it's landing, not realizing the effect of it until somebody tells us, because in our mind, it's going a different way, or we're seeing it a different way, or we're trying to make it go a different way, and then it doesn't. So also be ready to be corrected, ready to take responsibility for your actions, because you're leading these stories in different ways, and you're working with people that have different traumatic things you may not know about. I mean, we're playing games that we're slaughtering people all the time, or somebody gets mugged. And if somebody just got mugged 2 weeks ago, that's triggering for them all of a sudden. And you bring that up into, hey, you're in a dark alley and they want to take your purse, your money, and all of a sudden that could set somebody off really quickly because it just happened to them, and it wouldn't have done it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So we just got to be careful. The games are supposed to be fun. We're supposed to, and I always think we're supposed to be heroes too. I kind of don't play in we're going to be evil character campaigns, just because that's not the themes I want to do in my games. I want games to be fun and happy and challenging, but cool. Because I don't want to get into that darker thing. We got plenty of darker themes in our real lives, I feel like. So that's my recommendation for dungeon masters and game masters out there, is just, like you said, read the room was a really good, but just be ready too. We're going to make mistakes, and be ready to own up to your mistakes, and don't try to pawn it off on, I didn't know, or we don't have tools, or you didn't tell me to stop, so it was okay. None of that is right.
Yeah. No victim blaming and things like that.
Yeah, just take responsibility. You messed up.
It happens.
Thought, it happens. So
Which
we'll learn.
For the most part, I think that's what Adam did, is he acknowledges that he was wrong. So we'll
I think
see where it goes from there.
I don't think he's done. I think he's talking to counselors. He's dealing with friends of his, because he has been a very, like you said, inclusivity person, and he's championed that as an LGBTQ person himself, to let that happen. And he's left campaigns because of abuse, right? So, and he said he can't even believe it happened to him, and he's still going to be trying to figure out how to deal with this, because our hardest critics are also ourselves sometimes. I can't even imagine if it happened to me and then I saw the look, like if it was me, you and PB were playing a game, and then I did something and you had that reaction, and that was your facial expression at the end, and at the end of it you came to me and said, that's it, Dan, I'm out of the show. You did this and it was terrible, and I can't believe you did that. I would be horrified that I put you through that. Like I wouldn't even know what to do at that point. So not to belabor the whole thing, just wanted to bring it up because it was definitely all over Twitter. And if you're in Twitter watching the TTRPG stuff, it definitely came up. So keep your people safe, keep yourself safe, and have fun in your games.
Absolutely. And speaking of fun games, we're going to transition to Bardic Inspiration. This is where we talk about ideas we have for games and things like that. I always come up with it about like 10 minutes before the show starts because that's how I roll. I was talking with my patrons. We have a monthly hangout, and we were talking about TV tropes and how it's really cool to put certain TV tropes into your games, because games really do play out like TV sometimes. Like a session is kind of an episode of an ongoing series. You could say that. And one of the things I've always found funny, mostly because of the show Community, where they were making fun of specifically bottle episodes, where a bottle episode is where, well, I should just read it so we know what it is. But a bottle episode is a cheaply restricted episode where they usually shoot in one set and just, it's mostly dialogue back and forth between people, but it's the idea of like, hey, it's the end of the season. We kind of burned our budget on episode 5. So now it's episode 7. We need you to like, we're just going to throw this together really quick. Okay. And so you have a bottle episode, and Community did a really funny thing about it where they constantly talk about like, there's a puppy parade going on. Do you guys want to see? And they're like, oh, we can't, we got to study. So they did a bottle episode by telling them all of the cool things that were happening outside of their study room, but they had to stay in there and study. And it just tickles me. So could you use that TV trope in Dungeons and Dragons? Because it's essentially like, it got me thinking of like, do you do an escape room? Do you like, I don't know if this works. I wanted to bounce ideas off of you. Like,
yeah, it's like you have a hand on the bomb and you can't take your hand off the bomb.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, how do you make calls outside of the room? Is the whole objective like, or is it just one of those, like, they need to do talking back and forth? And I feel like for Dungeons and Dragons, you can have moments where it's like, okay, we're going to role play for a little bit, but you also need to have an objective for your players. And that usually makes me think of puzzles when they're in a room, but I don't know. Like, what if they were physically in a bottle? That would be funny. A whole episode where you got stuck in a bottle and you're like, how do we get out of this bottle? That would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be good. I read a story about that where the genie traps the character in his bottle so to take them out of what was going on, and then the genie left again, and then the whole thing was about how are they going to get out of this genie bottle. So that's pretty funny. That'd be kind of cool. So like a one scene, one set adventure session. So they got to be able to stay in there for 2 or 3 hours. They got to have something fun to do. It would be interesting. I think it would be a challenge for a GM to come up with one. It might challenge your, like, if you think you're really on top of your GM game, you could throw that in and say, okay, let's see if I could do this and really stretch my muscles on this. See if I could come up with something fun. It'd be interesting. A cool puzzle that doesn't, the only thing I think with puzzles is they're good until people can't figure them out.
Yeah. And then you got to like drop hints and stuff. And
yeah. And so that I've been in sessions where it's just been like, we just can't get it. And then it's terrible. It's miserable because we can't move forward. But yeah, I think it could be cool if you planned it. Like you would definitely have to plan it. You just wouldn't drop it in at one point, but that'd be very interesting. Like a low cost. It'd be great for you as a dungeon master because guess what? Maybe it's not that much. You don't have to do a bunch of maps. You don't have to do a bunch of NPC, generation. You don't have to do a bunch of anything else. You just have to come up with concepts. So it would be interesting. I think that'd be kind of cool. We'd have to try that.
I don't know. I like the idea of inside jokes in my games. And so if I had like my like writer theater friends and they're just like, midway through the game, I want them all to look at me and they're like, are we doing a bottle episode? And that's the joke. And then we all have fun. And that's all I want.
That would be good.
That's all I want. So, but Lucian, what was your bardic inspiration for this 4/4/2020?
Well, I had was flipping through movies to watch. Like you said, it was before Tales from the Loop was out, and I was transitioning from, I had already finished Tiger King, like you had said, and I was trying to figure out the next things. I was flipping through, and I didn't actually watch it, but I did flip by Journey to the Center of the Earth, Journey to the Center of a World of some sort. And I thought, that when I flashed by it, my brain didn't immediately jump to remembering the movie. My brain immediately jumped to, I wonder if I could run an adventure like that, in some world that was like a Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of role-playing game. And you could do it with probably any system that you're comfortable and familiar with. You could do it in any of the worlds, whether it's sci-fi or modern or Dungeons and Dragons, and all the things that you could do with it. Obviously, with Dungeons and Dragons, we'd be talking about going down into the Underdark if you want to go that route, or maybe yours is different. Maybe the Underdark is one piece, but you really come up with something that's very different on the way you're traveling to the center and what is at the center of your world. That could be very interesting to see, or a way to introduce really radical elements to your campaign without messing up the overall campaign world above it, right? Because you could say, hey, we have this fantasy world. It's very J.R. Tolkien. It's very, low fantasy magic stuff. But as we go deeper and deeper, maybe we can get into some more fantastical stuff, some more stuff that you wouldn't normally introduce into your world to get away with it. So I thought that'd be kind of cool too. In some ways, I feel like they didn't act ink with the moving oubliette thing that Omen was had killed his sister or something, but it was like this weird pocket dimension that moved around, and they used it in the C team, probably like second or third storyline. The C team were using it, and they got trapped in it, and they had to get out of it, and it was really cool. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I was thinking like a travel to the center of your world and what's there and what's cool as you travel there, and why would they go there, and all the different things. It just felt like a really cool seed for a campaign idea or an offshoot of, like you said, your players need to travel home. They'd finished the Black Pyramid. You were trying to figure out what to do between that, and you sent them to Shadowfell. Yeah. You could have sent them to like Feywild. You could send them to Shadowfell as a detour on their way, or you could do something like this where we're going to go down into the earth, because maybe their idea is, wait a minute, we know the earth is round, so it's shorter if we go through than if we go around, or something like that. So that could be a fun.
I wish that now, if I really want to make my own custom campaign setting at some point. And I like the idea of Journey to the Center of the Earth, like dinosaurs and stuff. So we'll have like, fantasy here, and then you go down, you got like a layer of Underdark, and then they're like, well, we don't go any deeper than that because of the dinosaurs. And they're like, what? And you go down, and there's like a giant pocket sun in the center of the earth, and all around it are the dinosaurs and the wild jungles of whatever. And that would be really fun, like I like that, because we have the dinosaurs in Chult and things like that, but like to actually make like a world within a world would be kind of interesting. So and then some people pointed out in chat, and I was Googling it as well, but the Hollow World campaign setting from AD&D is very much this, and super fun. So there's resources out there if you want to try and run something like that.
So very cool. So that was my idea. That was just a quick, maybe you guys could try that. It made me think when I flipped past it, how fun and how many different types of adventures we could have in something like that, or add it to. And I like that it was something that could fit in anybody's world. You could be playing Kids on Bikes and you could do this. You could be playing DCC and you could do this. You could be playing Dungeons and Dragons. You could do this. So it was kind of just a cool universal fitting idea that could fit somewhere. So very cool.
Yeah. Have you seen Iron Sky?
Yes.
There's a sequel, Iron Sky 2. I don't remember the sub name, but they go into the earth. Like there's a hollow earth, and they go down into it to defeat Nazis. It's
to defeat every time.
It's amazing.
Oh, I want to put Nazis in my D&D game. And the way you get to them is you're traveling to the center and you have to beat them. Oh, that'd be so good.
Well, speaking of games, what are you playing? What's going on with your games?
Playing tons of stuff. So
because you weren't playing stuff for a while, but now you're like overwhelmed.
No, and I should have put it in the notes, but I was so excited about all of it. I didn't even put it in.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I got to play Savage Worlds on Monday.
Right.
I'll be playing again this Monday. I was playing a Dracon.
What is the setting? Is it fantasy? Is it Western?
This one's called the X-Crawl. So this is a very Shadowrun-ish style setting. So 80s sci-fi.
Yeah,
I guess would be the idea.
Blade Runner kind of stuff like that.
And the X-Crawl is the big entertainment industry, just like we have WWE wrestling. They have what's called X-Crawls, and it's these professional dungeon delvers, and there's cameras everywhere, so the audience gets to watch as they try to go through these professionally made, almost like Running Man style obstacle course fights and all kinds of cool stuff. Or another take on like Roman days of the Colosseum and the gladiator games and stuff that they would do. So the X-Crawl and that's what we're trying to be. We're
human death and struggle for entertainment.
Yeah. And we're like way down. We're like, we're not even C-list X-Crawlers yet. We're still trying to break into, we're indie X-Crawlers that want to make it to the big scene, to make it to the A-list, be the Tom Cruises of this world or whatever at some point. So it's gonna be pretty cool. So my character is like almost like a lizard man or dragonborn-ish character. And this one did have in it, this had in the last thing of this, not streamed, but the last thing is he had in this tunnel we had to get through, there were these wild dogs that were going to attack our party. And I was like, I'm not doing it. So I'm just like, I run up there with my torch and I'm like, I just intimidate him. And I just, I keep him back. And he's like, yeah. And he kind of caught on to what was going on. He was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So they escape out, and then we were able to finish what we were doing. So it was very fun. It had like a 4-part obstacle course to it. One was a puzzle, one was a jumping puzzle, one was a combat, and there's still one more we have to do. I think we got through 3 of them in the session that we did. So pretty fun, but that's what's going on. Savage Worlds is a game. I don't know if you played this role-playing game. It is I
played Deadlands. With,
you set up,
but it wasn't the new Savage Worlds that recently got kickstarted. We played an older version of it, but it was a complicated system for Jordan. Like I was just used to
so
D&D
you assign
5th edition at the point.
Dice to a stat, like or something you're going to do. And so D6s or D8s or D10s and this stuff, and you have skills that you can do, and then you might add in bonuses. And the thing that makes it really interesting, your dice can explode. So if you roll a 6 on a D6, you get to roll it again
and add on top of that. So
and then and you keep.
I rolled a 6,
so
it explodes. A 4.
Yeah.
All right, I rolled a 10, and so from what I remember, if the DC is, I think like 5. And if I roll 6, it succeeds. But because that explodes and I roll a 4, now I have a 10. And so because 10 is divisible by 5, I succeed but twice. So it's like a super succeed. And you get to narrate
there's a term for it.
And I don't remember the term, but like you get to narrate like, no, this was the easiest bomb you've ever diffused. Like, you sneezed on it and it just shut down, and you're like, oh, cool. So
so that happened in our game a couple of different times, and it was interesting. So it's definitely a different system. I'm curious to see where we go with it, how long we play the campaign, and how we get into it. It's all new players of people I haven't played with before, so we're definitely in that new phase of trying to figure each other out and playing. We're not using cameras, we're only using voices, Discord. And we're using the other thing is we're using Fantasy Grounds. And I don't know what it is. Several of these invited to have been Fantasy Ground games that got invited to. I'm still not a big fan of it. I don't get it. I mean, I always tell these guys about Roll20 and they're like, no, Roll20 doesn't do what Fantasy Grounds do. Like they're huge fans of Fantasy Grounds. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I've used them both.
I wonder if it's like Mac and PC. Like it's kind of what you started with, that you're like, oh, I'm familiar with this. Because I feel the same way. I've played one game in Fantasy Grounds, and I was confused I was like, I just don't, where do I go? I have to, what? Whereas Roll20 just felt more intuitive to that. But so I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So
that was interesting. So I get to play that some more. Maybe I'll get more used to it. Maybe the more I use it, it'll be one of those things that I like, that I'm just like, all right, now I understand why everybody likes it. But for me, I don't know. I'm still a Roll20 guy at this point. So that was that game. Then we're playing our Waterdeep / Act Inc. And this was another one. This is such a weird week for me. I've been playing a character that doesn't fit with the party.
Ooh, that's troublesome.
Yeah. So at the end of the session on Tuesday night, I told my DM Danimal, I said, I think Mike, I'm going to have this character leave because I don't think it's going to work. Like, it's kind of funny at the moment. We're kind of making it work, but I can't see 20 levels of this going on and on, because what the problem is, my character I'm playing as a cavalier, as a knight, wants to be a really good guy.
Yeah.
The party wants to be a bunch of scoundrels.
Right. And that's the point of Waterdeep, in a way. Like, you want to steal, and so. Yeah,
it's just not meshing, right? So, and they're having fun, and they like the idea that there's this, there's the tension between, but I'm just like, I don't want to play tension for session after session after session of,
and have to justify
because my character would want to strangle you at this point. The stuff you guys are doing, it's not going to work. Rules lawyering, we're slaughtering people all over the place. It's just this, we're stealing all the time. So it's just like, it's not fitting. And I want this character, I want them to play like a knight, and so I don't want the party to get down about it. I don't want to ruin the game for me, and I don't want to ruin it for them with us butting heads all the time over what's going on. So I told him, I think I'm going to create a new character. I'm going to create a scoundrel so that I can sit back and I can be like, I don't care what you guys do. It's fine. We can steal, do whatever we want to do. We can burn houses down. I'll play a bad guy. No big deal. But it also made me think too, a lot of times it's not out of game I want to play a lot. I don't really want to be the bad guy, right? Like,
yeah.
Han Solo, okay, I get that. That type of, I'm a smuggler, but I've got the heart of gold kind of thing. That I'm with. I'm okay with that. But I don't want to really play Hannibal Lecter in a session. I'm just not into it. So when we started the next game that we're gonna play, so that game went pretty well. We're diving into the Act Inc. part of it. We're diving into having the thing. We already got to see a dragon at this point. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's cool because you're in a Dungeons and Dragons game and you get to see one. That's cool. I always like that when that happens. Mm-hmm. And about to get to the meat of the adventure. It sounds like we're done with the feeling it out and the side quest stuff. And I think we're finally going to get to the meat of Waterdeep, which then will lead us into hopefully the meat of going down into, which will be my favorite part, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, because I'm a big dungeon delver. I love dungeon delving.
Yeah.
A ton. I know not everybody likes it, but I love it. So that's been really good. And then we've all been getting excited because tonight we're going to play. Why did it just miss my head here? It's written down in my other notes. It's called Starfinder. I could see the cover. I couldn't see the words. We're gonna play a Starfinder tonight. We're gonna get together and we're gonna make our characters tonight, which is kind of cool. Because how often do you do that? Like nowadays, I feel like there's one thing we've missed out on. I don't know if you tell me, audience and Jordan. It seems like when we get invited to a campaign, people say, "Go ahead and make your character," and then when we do a session 0, you have a character, and we start talking about everybody that's already made their characters and they're bringing them in.
Uh-huh.
But D&D to me in the old days was, hey, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. We'll make characters when we get there.
Yeah.
Starting from scratch. So it's been a while since I've done that. And I'm hoping that's what we do tonight. And I think it'll be really fun as we're all bouncing ideas off of each other and we're trying to learn how to roll up characters and how the rules work together while making characters together. I think it'll be really fun. And that's an experience I've been missing for a while. Because, hey, Jordan, go ahead and make a 3rd level. We're going to play this on Tuesday. You can just jump in and, you can be whatever released classes and stuff is fine. But just go ahead and have a 3rd level ready and we'll jump in and play. So what about you? When's the last time you went to a session and in that session is where they've made the character?
Yeah, no, it's been a while. Like, I think Dungeon Crawl Classics was the last time where we all got together and we kind of decided about what we're. And I'm sorry, everybody. I'm like, my internet is not working again. I'm losing frames, and I don't know if my wife is uploading videos again, but something's going on.
The baby's watching Tales from the Loop.
Something's
without
happening.
you.
I keep thinking I have this fixed, and then it doesn't work. But I think Dungeon Crawl Classics was the last time, because we didn't know about that. Or honestly, the Deadlands game we played, we also didn't know how character creation worked. So
Right.
we had to get together, and then we were talking about ideas and things like that. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I prefer that, because a lot of people are like, well, I want to play this. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But like, you might want to play something else when you hear my idea. And it's like, oh, you're playing a rogue, like you want to play a rogue from this village. That's kind of cool. What if, like, I don't know, what if I'm your like cleric buddy or so, and so all of a sudden you kind of figure out like relationships and things like that. And I think so many people get caught up on like a D&D or like a video game. Oh, I can finally play this class, And so you sit down and you're like, all right, I'm going to build this class. But like you might have an interesting idea if you play something else. So
or it might not even fit. I mean, we all build character. I mean, me and you build tons of characters and ideas, and that's what I've done. So I'm not playing that Cavalier. Jumping back 1 second, so I'm not playing that Cavalier. So I'm building a new character, and I'm having this problem because there's the character I want to play, which is the Shadow Sorcerer at 3rd level, which sounds really cool and fun. But the character that would fit with the group better is this Ranger, the one that's the Underground Ranger. Forgetting the name of it. Also.
The Monster Slayer or the
Deep Stalker.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So it's the one
I can't read or write. It's fine.
And I wanted to put, that one is going to be a kind of one of the monster races, a bugbear. I'm gonna play a bugbear ranger that is this. I keep thinking Umbral Sight, but that's the name of the ability. That's not the class, but it has that. So that's what's cool about it. And so I'm waffling, just like you said, because one fits with the group better, but one is the one I just want to play. I don't care what the group's doing. I just want to play. But D&D is usually forgiving enough that you can get away with that. Not all games are. Some games you gotta, cover the bases. So hopefully by when I play on Tuesday night, I will have chosen between the Ranger or the Shadow Sorcerer, and I'm just leaning towards Shadow Sorcerer because I just love it so much.
Okay.
But there's so many good ideas, warlocks and clerics and druids and paladins and all this stuff. So
Gloomstalker.
And I don't even know. In Starfinder, I read the Vanguard class, and I was like, oh, I want to play this. This is so Mass Effect. It's so cool. I want to play this thing. And then I haven't even read all the other classes. So I'm sure tonight when we're getting together and we're reading and we're going through the books, there might be something else that pops out and goes, oh, this sounds really cool too. Like somebody's playing somebody with 4 arms so they can have, I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Shield in one arm, guns in the other, or whatever. It'd be really fun. So there's some cool stuff. So that's going to be interesting. I like the idea that I'm going to get to play Starfinder. I love the artwork. I love that it's based off Pathfinder stuff. I love that it's something they're still pushing right now. They're still building stuff for it. It's a relevant game. So I'm excited to play that. So we'll see how that goes tonight. We're going to get together and have some fun in that. So lots of role playing going on for me. But what about Jordan? What kind of role playing is going on for Jordan?
Well, we're doing a Weird and Wild game, which is a supplement for is system neutral really, but we're using it for 5th edition. And my DM basically wants to create a Bloodborne Dark Souls type of game. So it's, I don't know how deadly it's going to get, but it's very much low magic because magic solves a lot of problems. You can heal people really easily. You can do that. So we're very much relying on like our hit dice and being careful and looking for things. And I'm playing a fighter that's, I took the samurai side, but I'm just like a grumpy old man that has a big hammer. That's what we're playing. And it's fun. And that's just kind of, when we have time during the week, we get together and play this. Usually that was my Ghost of Saltmarsh crew, and now we're playing that instead. But my Wildmount game is on hiatus until the virus is over and we can get out of quarantine. So I haven't played that at all. We're still uncovering a drow plot, but I'm most excited about that character because I'm this like tiefling conjuration wizard, and at Wildmount I don't know much about, and so it's kind of fun to explore and see new things. So yeah. Lucian froze. I don't know if it's my connection or his. So I will keep
Parts.
talking.
Oh,
Are
you
you
froze
back?
on my side.
Oh, you froze
There you
on
go, you're
my
back.
side.
I think
Okay.
you're back.
All right. And
You froze on my side.
but probably the game I am most excited for is the one I'm DMing, which is Rod of Seven Parts. And we're having a really good time with that. My players leveled up again, so now they're going to be level 7 on the next game we play. They are uncovering this like demonic plot to something. They're not really sure what it is yet, but they got a really good piece or a really good clue where they went to Waterdeep to get this item analyzed, and the item, when the wizard was analyzing it, ended up opening a portal to the abyss, and some demons came out, and they killed all the demons except one, and they captured him. And so now, this next episode, they're going to have to figure out a way of getting him not to disappear and trap him in like a circle or something so he doesn't go back to the abyss. And they're gonna interrogate him. So we'll see how interrogation a demon is. I'm gonna have to do some research to see.
Here's a hint to help you out with that. Make it so that if they do anything physical, he keeps losing hit points, and he wants to lose hit points because then he goes back to hell.
That was exactly my thought too.
Yeah, because my guys always just want to. They just want to. Oh, I'm just going to go up and break a bone or something. I'm just like, well.
And they're chaotic demons, so I feel like he's going to lie a lot. He's gonna do all kinds of stuff. So I want to come up with some interesting ideas to do that. Siren time. So I want to come up with some interesting stuff about that, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Again, if you guys are interested in Rod of Seven Parts, I have not been releasing the podcast because I had some bad audio, but I got the files from Ted, so I'm going to edit those and upload them today or tomorrow to my Patreon, but it's all on YouTube. You can watch it there for freezies. And if you are curious about how I dungeon master and how I come up with it, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., I will stream on my channel the dungeon prep for Rod of Seven Parts. Should be a lot of fun. How
many rods do they have?
They have 2 right now. Yeah. Two parts. 2 the 7 parts of the single rod. And they are trying to figure out how to put them together. And spoilers, I guess, but it's a really cool system that each rod operates like a magic wand, but let's say this one casts slow and this one heals, and you put them together, now you have a rod that casts slow and heals and does something extra. So it gets more powerful the more you connect these together, until by the end you have this legendary artifact, this rod. That is really cool.
You're basically doing Infinity War, and you're going to do Endgame.
So good.
Is really what's about to happen here. Thanos is showing up in your game. I want the rod.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Thanks, guys, for coming out today. That is our show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break now so I can go hang out with my baby for a little bit, and Lucian can do some games and listen to sirens. He's really good at that. Follow us on the YouTubes. That would be wonderful for you. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. It would just be really awesome. Follow us on the Twitters. That's where we're there. If you want to find interesting photos and or silly videos that I post on Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Jordan with a PH in the middle on all of the social medias. So look for me there. Of course, Lucian is streaming stuff on Twitch now and again, so you should check him out there. Rate us on iTunes, all that jazz. We really love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Anything else, Lucian, before we leave?
Hey, go to those comments and tell us about your bardic inspiration for the week. What campaign idea did you have for the week? Because we love to hear them. So other than that, stay safe, and we'll see you in next week's quarantine show.
Yeah, it'll be wonderful. So take care, everybody, and happy gaming.